Welcome everybody. We're shared today with Danny Gredinberg from DEG, and we're excited to have him talk today about a variety of topics, and I'll pass it over to him. Welcome, Danny.
Thank you so much. And again, my name is Danny Gredinberg. I am the website administrator for the Database Enhancement Gateway. And I thank you, independent garage owners of North Carolina, for having me on today and letting me share with you about a free resource for your collision repair business so we can help you get some accurate information out of your estimating system. So we'll go ahead and move along here. So first off, we'll start with the antitrust guidelines. We're not here to talk about labor times pricing or try to get everyone on the same page to do exactly the same rates or labor. This is just for education purposes. You may hear terms of units or values used during the presentation. This isn't to say that this is how you must do it. So again, just want to keep this in mind, part of this presentation. So about the DEG, it's an initiative that was developed to help improve the accuracy of the collision repair estimates through proactive feedback from the collision repair industry and other end users to the information providers that supply the databases for you, the various estimating products. The DEG is created and equally funded and maintained by the AASP and the SCRS. So again, if you're a product user of any of the three estimating systems, the DEG is something that you definitely want to be using. And again, this is a free resource. And thank you to your collision repair associations for making this possible, AASP and SCRS. We also work with associations for more than just information provider issues. We work with them on macro type topics, and we bring it up to all the associations, and we work with the CIC database task force in addressing all those database issues. So the whole purpose of the DEG is to help improve the estimating and blueprinting platforms that you use. And again, your feedback on this website is what makes it all possible. So you have the ability to submit an inquiry, and then that way we can also help you address the concern. So again, it's up to you, the end user, to utilize it and submit the inquiries. Also, we have a great search feature, which allows you to search for inquiries or as anything that may be estimating related that you use the systems for. So again, we have support from our associations, SCRS and AASP, but we also have additional support from various organizations like ASA, PPG, Collision Advice, Beneezy, Wamba, All Data, and a few shops, Redwood City Auto Body, Nylands, and Auto Body Hawaii. 2021, there are a few new sponsors. So again, this is a free resource because of our sponsors and our supporters in the industry to make this available to you. So again, a big thank you to our sponsors and our supporters. So how does it work? If you're a user of the estimating program, CCC, Mitchell, and AutoText, I'm sure there's a time that you are during a repair planning or blueprinting process that you come across some information that you may not find in the estimating system when comparing it to the OEM information. So this is going to be an example that I'm going to show you here on a Honda Civic. While doing a blueprinting, we discovered that there was a clip in the repair procedure that clearly states in the procedure that the clip must be replaced with a new one when the B-pillar trim is reinstalled. So when we take that information from the OEM repair manual, we go to our estimating system, and we go to our upper B-pillar trim, and we can see that that the schematic shows that the trim is serviced as a unit, and that there's some clips in the box diagram that cannot be selected separately. So we find that to be awkward, that this procedure states one thing, and then the information in the database states something else. So when we go to our estimating system, we see that in the box number 3 that there's some hardware, can't select it. So what we do is we go and verify that information in the Honda OEM EPC, which is the electronic parts catalog. And you can see that number 23 is the same clip that is selectable as a component. Nope, let me go back here. So the number 23 is a selectable clip, and it's not available in CCC as a selectable component. So we go in there and verify the part numbers available. And then what we do is we go to our DEG website at www.degweb.org. We can open up an inquiry in the top right corner of the page. We fill out all the requested information, add any attachments if applicable, and then we click submit. It's really simple. So by doing so, you click on, go to our website. This is a little screen share right here. So you click on the Open Inquiry tab, and it'll take you to a form that you can fill out. So in this form, if you're using a browser like Google Chrome, once you fill it out once, it typically will save your information, so you don't have to refill it out over and over again. So the contact information will always be there if you save your autofill settings. So that way, the only thing you're filling out is the vehicle information and the database inquiry specifically. So once we fill out the inquiry page, we'll fill out this form. It'll have the personal information, and we really only need your name, your phone number, and your email address, and make sure that you have the correct email and the phone number, because there are times that I may be calling you just to talk about the inquiry if it needs to. And then again, with the year, make, and model and the VIN number of the vehicle, this helps us duplicate the concern and in one of the 3 estimating systems that your inquiry is on. And then obviously the database inquiry, which is which database are you referencing, and then what's the concern that you're referencing about. So once we fill out the inquiry, this is an example of that clip that was missing in the database. We filled out the inquiry, and then we click submit. In the submit, we were able to attach a screenshot from the Honda EPC and then verify that that part is available separate. So once we submit that inquiry, the resolution is going to go through the DEG, and we work directly with the information provider, CCC Mitchell or AutoText, to get a resolution. So you'll get an email verification that the email is acknowledged to the inquiry, and you'll get an inquiry number. Once I get the inquiry myself, I'm the administrator which will review the inquiry and then validate the concern. And then once it's been validated by myself or the administrator, we'll then process it to the appropriate information provider for a resolution. So the information provider, CCC Mitchell or AutoText, will again verify the concern, make sure that the part is not available or whatever the concern is in the information in the system, and then they'll come back with either an IP change or a no IP change. A no IP change would be something that the information provider stands behind with no reason to update the system. And if there's a reason to change the system, they would say it's an IP change, and then they'll recognize that there's a need to update it. And then the following month, you'll see an update. So in this case, 24 hours later, we got a response back from CCC confirming that in the pillars, rockers, and floor section that the clip was added, and it's a 35-cent part, and it was added to the database to be selectable. Additionally, they added a footnote on that clip stating that the part is included with the upper center pillar trim, and it's not reusable and replace only. So you can see that they added the part number, the price of the part, and then also with the footnote that it's a one-time use part. Many repairers run across these scenarios where parts are stated as one-time use by the OEM, but there's nothing to support it in the estimating system. So as long as we have confirmation from the OEM that the part is one-time use, the information provider will also add that footnote. So what's in it for me by doing all this work? I mean, you've confirmed that, you finally located this part. It's 35 cents. What did you do all this for, 35 cents essentially? Well, once a change is made in any of the estimating systems after a correction, it's there for everyone in the industry that's using the product. So again, the fix is made for industry wide. You'll never have to make a manual entry over that part, looking for that part. So, having to type it out manually, get the part number, you'll never have to do that again, because on the following month, that part is now added to the database. And the information is also correct and accurate in the database. So, the example I gave you for this little clip, we, as repairers, we all come across times, during the repair planning process, the clip wasn't identified. And guess what? On Friday afternoon, when the car is being reassembled, your technician comes to you and says, hey, I'm missing this clip that was broken upon disassembly. Had we had known that the clip was one-time use up front during the blueprint process, we could have identified that clip on the front end. We could have added it on the front end, so that way we can get that clip on the initial parts order. I'm sure we all ran across scenarios and times where on Friday the car is supposed to be leaving. The technician comes up and says, I need the clip. You call the dealership thinking it's something in stock. Well, it's a special order part, and it's not going to be arriving at to the shop within the next few days, because it's a specialty type clip. So that's just a small example of what that 35-cent clip potentially does to your repairs and processing this repair the vehicle through your shop. And you now potentially delay that vehicle over a 35-cent clip. So that's kind of what's the picture of how inaccurate information on the database can impact you. Now, having a voice in the game and being able to speak up and submit these inquiries and get this database corrected can help alleviate some of these challenges to us repairers in the industry. So we also have a search bar in the database. So sometimes it's a question that's already been asked or addressed by the information provider. We also have something, an ability to search our database and ask a question regarding P pages or language in the P pages in any of the three systems. So this is an example of why you may want to be searching the database. And a question that comes up commonly is protecting the interior from sparks in included operation. So on our website, when you go to the database tab and you search in the search field, and we'll just type in weld spark, for example, because it searches for keywords. And then when we click on the search button, it will bring back any inquiry that's been submitted with the word weld or spark in there. And we can quickly filter it down by hovering over this magnifying glass to on the resolution column. And we could see that there was an inquiry, looks like that was responded by CCC stating additional work to cover and protect items are not included and should be an on-the-spot evaluation. So again, searching the P pages may not have identified that. So you can search it and see if a question's been asked regarding language in the P pages. And this was a response from CCC confirming that to protect the vehicle interior during repairs is not included, and it's an on-the-spot evaluation. So this is great documentation. Now, as a repairer, how do we document our file? And what we'd want to do is we can go ahead and make a line entry on that. And then for justification purposes, we can use a link to from the DEG inquiry, and as well as if you want to add that to your line notes from the response from CCC. So that way, anyone questioning why you're adding that manual line or that consideration, you have something to support from the data, from the information provider. So it's a great resource to use as documentation on your repair plans. So going over some estimating tips, I like to share, with all the repairs when it comes down to when you're using one of the three estimating programs, especially with CCC, is right from front to back, back to front, outside in type scenario, and that helps review your repair plan much more easier, and it's also much more effective and more streamlined. So if you got a vehicle involved in front end repairs, you're going to start from the from the front bumper, working your way to the headlights, the hood, the fenders, and you're working your way inwards or to the back of the vehicle. So that way you're not jumping all over the place on the estimate during your review process. And an example of that would be, going from the front bumper and then going back to the back bumper, and then the trunk lid and then the roof, etc. When you're reviewing that repair plan, you kind of want to go along, in the order of the vehicle, so that way you can capture all those opportunities that you may be missing, and it helps identify those, when you're sticking to that one panel, and then finishing out that category with all the operations necessary. So again, another couple tips that I like to share with all the repairers out there is having a very strong parts code table, and a parts code table or the manual reference lines or those manual entries. Those are where a lot of the operations that as repairs are missing, that when I review estimates and repair plans. Those parts code tables can include, materials, consumables, manual line labor operations that are not always specified in, as selectable operations in the database. So you always want to remember your forgettables and your not included operations. Having your parts code table organized into groups is really a great tool. A tip that I like to share, and by grouping it is having all your administrative group operations in one group, having your consumables of, like, for example, fluids or clips, retainers, into a second group, having mechanical or various operations, scanning, calibration, and having those set into groupings. And I like to set those in the order of the repair plan, so that starting from the very beginning, from the administrative portion, all the way down to the final delivery of the vehicle, down to having that, detailed final wash cleanup of the vehicle in the order of that repair plan. Again, during the final review of that repair estimate that you're generating, you want to be able to go down that list of your parts code tables in the same fashion and identify which operations may be applicable to that specific repair, and that way you can capture all those missed opportunities. Another tool that I like to recommend all the repairers out there to be using, and this is a free one, is if you go to the SCRS website, you can download the complete guide to repair planning PDF document. And that PDF document will actually break down every panel by bumper, hood, lights, doors, fenders, welded panel operations, etc. So that way, and also give you a list of potentially missed operations that are commonly missed. And right now that list is over 1,000 lines of potentially missed operations throughout a vehicle repair. So this is a great free tool. Now you could take it one step further, and the SCRS has developed and released a tool called the SCRS bot tool. And that bot tool will take that PDF document and allow the repairer to import a copy of the estimate, and it will analyze the estimate within seconds, under 5 seconds. And again, provide you with a list of potentially missed operations on your repair plan. And also you get to integrate your parts code table into that tool, which is going to be shop specific. It's customizable. It's going to have different features of reporting, and it's great for training, for consistency in the repair and the repair environment when you have multiple riders and you want to gain consistency in your repair plan amongst multiple repair riders. So again, check out the SCRS bot tool, and this will help you analyze the estimates and quickly identify potentially missed operations that you have set up into a high frequency and low frequency category. So for more information, go to www.scrs.com/bot to learn more about that tool. All three estimating systems have P pages. P pages can be considered the procedure pages, the guide to estimating, the GTE, the collision estimating guide, the CEG, or as AutoText likes to call their P pages, the DBRM, which is a database reference repair manual. All three estimating systems have their own specific logic and their own set of determining of included and not included operations. So you don't have to be a user of that specific estimating platform to gain access to those P pages. You can actually view all three estimating P pages from our website. So if you go to our website under the Estimate Toolbox section, and you'll go to the Understanding Your System, you'll see links to all three estimating system P pages. Once you go to the P pages, you're going to have a fairly large living document. These are all live. These are all up to date. All so anytime there's a revision made from CCC, Mitchell, or AutoText, it's always live and current and up to date on their website. If you know what you're looking for and you know the categories or which menu area that you're going to be going to, on the left side of the screen, you can definitely navigate through there, and then you'll have access to see everything related to that estimating system. If you're maybe familiar with it, but you're just looking for a keyword search, in the top right corner of CCC and Mitchell's P pages, you can search for a keyword by entering a term, and then it will bring back any page or document related to that keyword that you've inputted. So similar to the DEG database search, you can also search CCC or Mitchell for keywords as far as where it lands within the P pages. It's a little bit different when you go to AutoText. So you can see right here, Mitchell is the same way. But when you go to AutoText, this is an online living PDF document. So there's really not a search function other than if you have to hit your Control F on your keyboard, and then the find feature will come up through the browser, which will allow you to then search through the PDF document for any keyword related to what you're looking for. This is not going to really give you search results for anything that you're questioning as far as a question that's already been asked. This is, again, specific to the database that you're working with or trying to learn more about, as far as, something that may be, specific, like clear code or, blend operations, things like that, or welding for adjacent panel damage. Those are might be, you know, be information that you're going to find in the P pages. And again, if you have any questions or if you're having difficulty, reach out to us. We'll help you navigate where to find that information and point you in the right direction. Again, more estimating tips. Every Monday, DEG, we work directly with the industry and provide you with a free estimating tip every Monday. And these estimating tips could be something basic. It could be something, you know, a quick reminder. It could be something pretty intricate and pretty detailed. So these estimating tips are great, and you know, and they kind of touch, you know, to all levels within the industry. So if you're a novice writer or if you're an advanced writer, these tips will help you, remind you, and capture those opportunities and just kind of get you thinking as far as when you're reviewing repair plans. You can view all these tips on our website under the Estimate Toolbox in the Estimate Tips section, or if you want to be added to their automatic email every Monday, send an email to info@scrs.com and you'll be added to the mailing list. And again, you can also check our website. Everything's stored and archived on there. But if you want to get them automatically to your email every Monday morning, just send an email to info@scrs.com to be added on that email list. This is an example of what an estimating tip would look like when it's distributed via email. And again, this is just a quick reminder where we may touch on, you know, prior inquiries, just clarifying something that an information provider may have stated. So again, these are great documents that are, again, all confirmed by the estimating systems as included or not included operations, or something to remind you as far as what you can capture on the repair plan. More estimating tips that the DEG does, and what we've done was we created a couple of these charts that quickly compares, you know, all three estimating systems for common included and not included operations. While an operation may be included in CCC, it may not be in Mitchell, and again, in AutoText, they may have a different consideration. So these are just very common in operations that we kind of grabbed from the industry, you know, what they're doing on the repair plans, and we were able to quickly identify if on a chart comparing the three estimated systems where these operations would land within the systems. And again, if you're comparing estimates from yours to a bill pairs or, you know, to another product, again, you can quickly use these charts to identify if these are included or not included. Again, you always want to be in the estimate system specifically because footnotes will always take precedence and override what the P pages state otherwise. So we have more charts, and again, the one before was, for example, was when it comes down to like seam sealers, urethanes, scanning and calibrations. This one's going to be more or less like cavity waxes, e-coat, primer duplication, prime and block, and again, what type of seam sealer application is included or not included. So these are great reference charts that are available to the industry free of charge, and these are all available on our website as well. Another question we get a lot, you know, in a lot of our inquiries, or if it's a question regarding labor, a lot of the times, a lot of these inquiries, they fall back and they have a lot to do with the associated material cost. So if you look at this photo right here, you're going to see some examples of what material costs look like or consumables used in the repair process. So anything, so we'll start with the gentleman painting right there. There's more than just, you know, paint in the cup that's being used to apply refinished product on that vehicle. You know, things like masking papers, masking tape, gloves, paint suit, the respirator filters, the respirator itself. What about the mixing cup that's a consumable because that's a disposable cup? All these things that are used in the refinishing processes. You got abrasives, you got the clip drawers, you got the cavity waxes, the corrosion protection products like primers, the double-sided tapes, the seam sealers. Now, when you're doing seam sealer work, you know, sometimes, you know, you may want to consider some of the additional products that are associated with seam sealer. And that could be, you know, for example, like the disposable tips, because again, those are consumable products. There's drill bits. And also when you're welding on a vehicle and you're protecting that interior or the exterior of the vehicle, there's also that consumable paper that you may be using to prevent sparks from damaging components on the vehicle. So when you're considering the products and materials used on the repair plan, how are you capturing that essentially? And all three estimating systems will have confirmed that they're not included, and the cost of materials or consumables are not included in any of the published labor times. So again, the question comes down to is how are you capturing those materials used in the repairs? And again, the answer to that is the estimate preparer will need to determine the cost of materials and factor it in their hourly rate, or using an invoicing system that tracks all the products used in the repair process that could be used. There are many programs available by the companies out there, by refinishing companies, and also third-party companies that have these options to capture those materials and then give you the ability to you can itemize it and show an invoice for those specific materials. So again, this is a quick little reminder when you're looking at the estimate systems, and when you're looking at the logic behind the labor times when you're doing some of these repairs. So when you look at the estimating systems, some things that they'll all state within their general information is that times do not apply to vehicles with equipment other than that supplied by the vehicle manufacturer as standard or regular production options. And this is where it gets interesting here, is if other equipment is used, the time may be adjusted to compensate for the variables. Removal and replacement of exchanged or used parts is not considered. If additional aligning or repairs must be made, such factors should be considered when developing the estimate. So this was an excerpt straight out of CCC Motors P pages, and what the verbiage in the red pretty much states is, that the vehicle involved in the collision or has variables involved. It's when you're using the labor times in the system, it's based on a new part from the manufacturer going onto a new undamaged vehicle. Now, how many times of repairs are we putting new, which we are putting new parts on the vehicle, but sometimes the vehicle, it's not brand new. So there's going to be variables involved in the vehicle. The vehicle structure may have moved, it may have shifted. So we get asked a lot of times, what about trial fitting of a component? And CCC has specifically defined in the labor premise that trial fit of a component to verify dimensional accuracy of adjoining parts is not included. So when you're test fitting these parts, say you're doing a rear body panel, you may be test fitting your tail lights, you may be test fitting your rear body panel, the replacement of it, or whatever component you're welding onto the vehicle. But there's times that the repair has to fit those parts up to the adjacent parts many times to check the verification and the accuracy of how it fits to the adjacent parts. So again, keep that in mind in the language in the P pages. So again, this is Mitchell's excerpt. The labor times shown in the guide are in hours and tenths of an hour, 6 minutes, and are for replacement parts with new undamaged parts from the vehicle manufacturer on a new undamaged vehicle. Any additional time for collision damage access, alignment pulls, non-original equipment, or used parts should be agreed upon by all parties. So this is, again, the straight from Mitchell. And then AutoText, again, is an operation for remove and replace is an operation that are required to remove the damaged parts and replace with a new OEM or alternative part. AutoText times includes normal adjustment and alignment for correct fit, does not include any duplicated efforts such as test fitting. Replace includes any operation over and above the R&I operations. So all three systems recognize, what a replacement operation is and what kind of parts you're replacing with based on the labor times. So we get asked a lot of times, how come one system, allows for this, or the times, in this system is this, but it's less over here. And essentially, each of the three estimated system platforms cannot be cross-compared. None of the three information providers will have labor times or included and not included operations that are identical to each other. They're all going to vary. They're all each independent of each other. And the example is you cannot compare a Ford sedan to a Volkswagen sedan to a Japanese sedan, other than they are all sedan vehicles. They may all have 4 doors. They may all have similar features. And same thing with estimating systems. They're all estimating systems that allow the user to select parts and the labor operation, and that's about it. But the internal specifications behind all these programs is all proprietary, and it's all to each individual company. So that's why it's really important to utilize all the estimating P pages and understand the logic behind all three systems. And again, realize All three systems have their own set of included and not included operations, and the times will vary. They're not comparable to each other than the fact that they're estimating programs, and they're able to generate a report that's viewable and readable by the repair, by the vehicle owner, or whoever needs to review a document of the repair plan to the vehicle. So keep that in mind. So with AutoText has a one report that stands out and not available in any other system, and that's called the labor report. We also have a video about the labor report on our YouTube channel, which gives you more of a breakdown and more of how to read and understand the labor report. But essentially, the labor report will take an operation. If you've seen an AutoText estimate, you'll see that labor times may be, they stand out in comparison to the other two programs. And what that labor report does allows you to view that estimate in an expanded view and understand how it developed, how the AutoText estimate time was developed for that operation. So, for example, when we look at the estimate here, the estimate had an outer tie rod, a steering gear assembly, and then it had a steering column on there. And then we wonder, why is the steering column shaft only allow 0.1 labor? And again, when you have this labor report, you'll see the breakdown where all the labor values are allocated to. So that way, the system is not allocating double labor value to a single operation. So it will show you the full value. It will show you the eliminated value if there's overlap applied to another operation that has to do with this component, and then it gives you a net value after overlap has been applied of what the remainder would be for that specific component. It also gives you the specific breakdown of all the specific operations that are included in a replacement or an R&I scenario for said component. And again, this will be on mechanical type items for like suspension, rear body panel replacement. It'll tell you what's included in there for how AutoText developed that labor time for that specific component. And you always want to remember that these labor reports are estimate and vehicle specific. So again, you want to request this from the bill payer if they're using AutoText and you're not, so that way you see this. This is not a proprietary document. This is not some kind of hidden document. The estimate preparer using AutoText can always provide this for you, part of the estimate, so that way you can see the transparency in the estimate itself from AutoText when you get that sheet from the AutoText user. Again, this is just more information about the labor report, and we have a video on our website and our YouTube channel discussing more about the AutoText labor report. So as repairers, we love using free. We love the word free, and the DEG is all about free. And again, free resources is a big part of our website for repairers to utilize, and may not always be something in the estimating system, but it could be something from the OEM. It could be from other associations or from industry type sites. So we have some additional free resources available on our website. And if you've been to any recent discussions or seminars, education classes, you may have heard the owner's manual is a big topic and trend coming up right now in using those as part of your repair plans. While it's not a substitute for the actual repair instructions from the OEM, the owner's manual has a lot of information that's sitting in that glove box for both the vehicle owner, you, or anyone that's needing justification on a specific repair that may be, that documents it from the OEM and may not always be found in the repair instruction. So the reason the owner's manual is great, because again, we talked about that it has some information that may not always be found in the repair manual. And what we've done here is I've created a document here with links to all the manufacturers, with links to their owner's manuals. So that way, if we don't want to dig around through the glove box and see if there's one available, we can just go to their online digital version. And also we broke it down between the USA vehicles and the Canada type vehicles, as the owner's manuals may differ due to transportation requirements that differ between the two countries. So an example of what you may find in the owner's manuals, you're going to find a plethora of information regarding safety, what type of parts you're going to want to use. But also, I was doing a research on an Audi one time, and the question came up was, how many tires should be replaced, when you're replacing a single tire? And, sometimes you assume one tire, sometimes you assume all four tires. But in this case, looking in the Audi's owner's manual for this specific vehicle, it specifically stated tires should be replaced at least in pairs and not individually. Example, both front tires or both rear tires together. So having that information helps gain the trust of the vehicle owner, as well as if you're supporting this to a bill payer, why you may need to replace more than one tire in the repair scenario. And again, every vehicle, every car, every vehicle OEM has its own specific a statement regarding this topic in the owner's manual. And again, I've searched high and low in some of the repair manuals, and I couldn't find this. And when I found this in the owner's manual, that was exactly what I needed to support that to the vehicle owner, so that way they understand why I'm doing the repairs correctly for them and looking out for their best interest. So again, and this is not something hidden from anyone, from the vehicle owner. This is right in their glove box when they bought the car. Anyone questioning why something needs to be done in the owner's manual, well, that's what I mean, and that's what the manufacturer states when the vehicle owner bought the vehicle. I mean, so we're just repairs following what the manufacturer recommends and requires for correct and proper repairs for the vehicle to remain safe. Additionally, we have access to OEM OneStop. If you haven't used OEM this is going to be pretty much a one-stop website to access all the manufacturers' technical information websites, whether it's for collision or for mechanical, and these take you to their paid sites. Some manufacturers may have a free or a limited access part of their site, but again, as repairs, we should always be using OEM Repair Information. Otherwise, at least use some kind of OEM Repair Information through a program like AllData. But again, if you're not using the OEM Repair Information, you're leaving a lot on the table of possibly not doing safe and proper repairs. Additionally, OEM OneStop has a lot of position statements regarding from the manufacturers, whether it be the type of parts or recommendations, wheel repair requirements, things like that, or even scanning and calibration requirements and position statements like that. So definitely use the OEM OneStop link on our website, so that way you can make sure that you're following the manufacturer's repair requirements, as well as using their position statements for documentation purposes. So recently, with the shift of how we're repairing vehicles, we're using OEM Repair Information. It's no longer just get to the car and start figuring it out, unbolting it, and just, kind of figure it out as you go. We want to research what it takes to repair that vehicle correctly, make sure that we're performing all the correct inspections, we're measuring the vehicle, safety components, the systems of the vehicle, and following what the OEM states. If you've gone through the OEM websites or you're using Repair Information, you can feel that at the time it takes to read through all the information and find the information, it can be definitely labor intensive. It can be cumbersome. There could be it could be 5 pages. It could be 5,000 pages of information. It's really endless. And the question that I get asked all the time was all that factored, all that time spent looking at researching and looking it up, was it factored into the repair time or into the labor times? So, these are all variables that are involved. So again, it can all vary depending on the vehicle and the repair you're specifically working on. The information can change daily without notice. So today you're welding in a floor pan on a manufacturer for said repair, and tomorrow, if you get that identical vehicle in the shop, don't assume that the repair procedures are identical to that of yesterday for the identical vehicle. It can change without notice. And again, you always want to look up said repair procedure for that specific vehicle on said day that you're repairing the vehicle. Don't assume that the procedures printed today will work on the same vehicle tomorrow. Always reference the repair procedures live as you're working on that vehicle. CCC confirmed this in a DEG inquiry about 2 or 3 years ago, and the question came up was, was all this time spent researching, was it factored into the labor times or even the subscription cost? And they've come back and they've actually updated their P pages, their guide to estimating, and one of their updates was access to repair information and subscription cost was not included. Additionally, they've added an additional one in the second box right here, which is repair information retrieval and lookup. And again, that's your labor time associated with looking up at the information that you're trying to research on. Again, the labor and the to look up the information, as well as the cost associated to look up the information, whether it be a login required to a manufacturer site, is not included in the labor time. Mitchell hasn't formally updated their P pages or their collision estimating guide yet, but we do have an inquiry here that was responded by Mitchell, and their response is the procedure page enhancement request will be taken under consideration for future updates. The labor associated with purchasing OEM subscription is not factored in any published labor allowances. And then again, the same thing from AutoText. There has not been an update yet from their P pages or their DBRM, but they have responded in a formal inquiry. Any labor related to research and or investigation of OEM, EPC and or service information is not included in AutoText provided labor values. So again, they also define that any relative OEM subscription costs are not included in the parts nor labor values provided for the repairs. So that kind of gives you an idea, there's definitely a big shift in how we look at vehicles, how we're researching vehicles, and the time associated with it. So if you're ever looking for supporting documentation, if you're potentially going to be looking, adding that onto your repair plan, this is how the DEG would be a great resource for you. Additionally, we talked about in the beginning how we use a DEG to add a missing component or part or a clip in that case to the database. I'm just going to go through with you quickly what are some recent other examples of the DEG and how it was utilized. So we had here a recent inquiry where a repairer submitted a question on a 2009 Kia Sorento, and the concern was that the rocker panel time to replace the outer rocker panel was only 5.5 hours, and it wasn't sufficient to replace that rocker panel. So after submitting the inquiry, as well as some pictures of the in process of the work, as well as some procedures if they had available, CCC came back and reviewed the inquiry and confirmed that they've updated the rocker panel time from 5.5 hours up to 10.5 hours. So you can see that was a 5-hour increase, all by submitting an inquiry because someone confirmed that the time didn't seem correct in the database for that replacement operation. So we have a 5-hour increase on a single component in CCC on a rocker panel. Another one was a recent inquiry on a Chevy Colorado. And again, repair was fixing the car. The technician noticed that the time to replace the inner rocker panel was only 4 hours, and the rocker reinforcement only allowed 4.5 hours. So when the technician was working on this vehicle, he spent a lot more time than that that was suggested by the database, and they submitted an inquiry and again provided photos and any repair procedures. And again, CCC confirmed and acknowledged that yes, it does take more time. So the inner rocker was updated to 7.6 hours, so an increase of 3.6 hours, and then the rocker reinforcement was updated to 6 hours, so an additional 1.5 hours. So this one repair again increased the overall repair for these two operations almost 6 hours total, nearly 5 hours, I'm sorry, nearly 5 hours total on this job, all because of looking out and seeing that the time on the estimate didn't actually correlate to what was spent on the vehicle. So this is a great example of how the DEG also works. We had some an inquiry come in on a 2020 GMC Sierra for AutoText, and in this case, the inquiry came in talking about the roof spoiler time for R&I wasn't sufficient, and in this case, AutoText includes the labor for to lower the headliner. So the inquiry was submitted, and AutoText confirmed that 0.7 to R&I, the spoiler, including the dropping of the headliner, was not sufficient. So they increased it to 1 hour. So again, this was an increase of 0.3 over an R&I operation of a component on the vehicle. So these are another example of how you may want to submit an inquiry. And again, we have another inquiry that was submitted to Mitchell that the repairer was doing some repair on the side body of the vehicle, and when he was reviewing the repair procedures, the repair procedures were calling out the use of OEM specific rivets and adhesives from GM. And when he went to the estimating system, he was not able to add it in there because there was nothing to select it from. So after submitting an inquiry to Mitchell, they've confirmed that the OEM does have a specific part number to those rivets and adhesives, and they have added that to the database. So now when you go into the database, you can select those from Mitchell's database when you're repairing that vehicle and you're needing those specific consumables. So again, this is a great example of how the DEG works and how submitting an inquiry can benefit not only you, but the entire industry when you notice these omissions or errors found in the database. This is probably one of my favorite inquiries and clarifications from the database from CCC when it comes down to refinishing. So this one was an inquiry submitted, and this one was, again, asking for clarification where the outside is, where the inside, where the edges, and what is the backside. And you can see that, and this is with the picture example, CCC actually confirmed, the specific areas of what is considered those areas of the panel. So the exterior surface time in this case was is for the door skin on the outside of the vehicle that's facing the outside of the car. The inside you can see is the area facing inside of the vehicle where the inner shell is stamped. The edging is obviously the area facing towards the lock pillar itself. And then the one that we've been seeing a lot recently is questioning what is the backside of the outer skin, and is that included? And CCC and Motors confirmed that the backside is the backside of the actual skin itself, and that area is not included in any of the inside or outside or edging operations, and that would be a manual entry, because every scenario would be different because how it came from the factory, because the appearance may differ from vehicle to vehicle, as well as the type of products that you're using back there. You may not be using a refinished product, but you're maybe using a corrosion protection product of some sort, such as like a primer, e-coat type color, or an epoxy back there for corrosion protection purposes. And again, more and more OEMs are starting to define, what needs to be done on the backside of these panels during the repair operations. So again, I just wanted to share with you how the DEG works, what type of information we have, what kind of inquiries you can submit regarding the estimating and, repair scenarios. Again, the DEG is a free resource to you. All this wouldn't be possible without the man who developed, who started the DEG. His name is March Taylor. He's the founder of the DEG. Prior to him passing, he was the owner operator of Auto Body Hawaii. He was a hands-on technical savvy gentleman. He took it upon himself to start this initiative. And when word got out of what he was doing, more and more repairers were reaching out to him and seeking the same help that, he was doing on his own. So this thing grew and grew and evolved into its own business. And having the support of associations and through end users means that this is an advocate for you and the industry to make sure you get the most accurate information possible. So if you have any questions, reach out to me, reach out to the DEGs. You can call me, you can email me for the fastest response. We're here to help you, achieve, accurate repair planning. We're not so much in the area of providing you repair information from the manufacturer, because that's not our primary focus. As we have resources like I-Car that are out there for that. But if you have a technical question, I may not be able to answer it for you. I'll point you in the direction where you can get those technical answers, whether it be through I-Car or through the manufacturer or through a contact that I may have. But again, we're here to help you and get you in the right direction, and we're here as a resource for you. If you have any questions, call, email, visit our website. We have a lot of great tools and links on our website. So if you have any questions, again, reach out. I hope this presentation was helpful and you find value in this service for your business. I mean, again, it's absolutely free. There's no login or there's no sign up required. Again, if you're using our service and you feel that you found value and you want to donate to the resource, and that we're here, we're always here accepting that. But again, this is a free resource for you and for everyone involved in the estimating system. So whether you're a repairer, you're an insurance company, you're a bill payer, you're a customer, and you want to know more about estimating systems and the P pages, again, our website's here for you. So thank you so much for having me on this call today. And if you have any questions, reach out.
Thank you so much, Danny. We appreciate you being here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.